So me and the man, we were watching a movie, starring Johnny Depp. It was a movie, a current movie. So Johnny just recently released this. It was on straight to whatever you say streaming, which used to be a bad thing. Used to be like, oh my God, so it went straight to videotape, it went straight to 8-track, or straight to VCR tape. But that's what it did in the movie, because it was a movie that was based as if it was 1981. So the weird part about the whole movie was, I don't know why you would choose 1981, because it was like a transition period. The cars weren't big and luxurious like they were in the 70s, trying to build a bigger car every time out. They were whatever. They were plain Janes. There was nothing really awesome going on in 81 with cars. Mustangs and Camaros and all these other things, they had their heyday, so to speak. And the Chargers and some of these other things, Starsky and Hutch drove a Charger, and they had to paint it up like a circus tent to make it look appealing. It's, the General Lee cars even. Women, they were pretty perfect in those days. I heard the man would say, like Daisy Duke, as an example, is what you would call a perfect woman. But anyways, the man, he insisted we watch this movie because he was a little nostalgic for 1981. Me, I can remember 1981, and my dog remembers, and at least Ronald Reagan wasn't a nut job. But other than that, we didn't have a whole lot going for ourselves. But anyways, we're watching this movie, and the weird part about this movie is that it's designed... It's all about these people who were involved in a situation where they were producing pornographic videos. But it was, in the movie, pornography was taking a step up, so to speak, in the quality. Because before that, I guess it wasn't as good, whatever. It's okay? And now they had better video cameras and lighting, and they had better directors. But in this particular genre that Johnny was working in, it was only obese people. It was obese people pornography. And it wasn't being sold as a fetish. It wasn't being sold as obese people pornography. It's just that's the only people they hired in this movie. And that was the eerie quality. That's what you couldn't figure out. You're like, is it like for fetish people? The man looks at me, is it like for people watching fat people have sex? And I looked at him, I said, I don't think so. In this movie, the only people that are seen as being beautiful or you want to see someone having sex are great big ginormous fat people. And so it's almost dystopian. You can't figure it out. It's set in 1981, and the man, he starts racking his brain because he's oxygen deprivation. He's thinking to himself, hey man, why, what was this part? I didn't see no videos like this. I was watching school teacher videos and nurse videos. And I said, all right, too much information. We don't need to, And he said the greatest thing about a nurse video is sometimes when another nurse, a gorgeous, beautiful, voluptuous nurse with big breasts and a thin waist, they would come up and there'd be two nurses. God almighty, there's nurses. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The thing is, it was really weird. The man, he couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. But in the movie, you see this guy, he's maybe 390 pounds, close to 400 pounds. And he's in a leotard, a black leotard. And he looks like a giant prune or something. I can't figure it out. But you could see his ginormous schwanz. It was it was 18, 19 inches of a section of a big giant boa constrictor. It had a lot of flaccidness, and it looked like 3 or 4 coffee cans you duct taped together. It was looped around in his leotard going back up its leg. And you're like, my God, these enormous giant fat slobs, they have big giant penises. And in the movie, the most disgusting part was that Johnny's character was describing that they would, in the movie, to make it more enticing to people, in each sexually explicit scene, the people would become more and more heavier until you're getting up to my 700-pound girlfriend, my 800-pound boyfriend. And these people would be on, they would bring them in, but they would be, each person would be suspended by a small forklift, and they would have all these harnesses. And in the movie, Johnny says, hose them down, I can't take this stink. But that was the other thing, when they culminated it was like a gas rose above them instead of it being like, some kind of ejaculate or some kind of screaming pleasure. A vicious, horrible, orangish, heated, super stinky gas started to rise above them, and then they backed the two forklifts back apart, and that part of the movie, that was the culmination of the whole movie. And Johnny, to his credit, in that movie, it always looked like he didn't know what the hell was going on. In one scene, he starts gagging, like they cut away as soon as he's like off the side of the screen, but he starts gagging and retching. So, and also his character kept saying, things like he would sneak it in there and be like, okay, now I want your ginormous folds of fat pulling back so maybe your genitals could touch. And then he would say, arbitrarily, like, hey, did you get a bowl of Wheaties this morning? Just sneaking it in there, like maybe, and you might get a little help. He's like, hey, maybe what we should do is to hose you down a little bit better before we even get started because I'm already getting nauseous, but how about a carrot stick? And he would just say that would be it. He was like almost subliminally trying to get these people to get healthier. In the movie, but the whole thing was, you didn't know why everybody in the movie, the whole industry, and they did the pornography video industry the right way. I mean, they showed the technology trends and how it got bigger and how it got on the internet. But the entire movie, everybody that was involved with it, the fans only wanted to see ginormous, fat, obese people. And no one explained it. It was just like part of the course. And the movie never tried to even really discuss it. It was just like trailing. It was like, whatever. And that's what made it so eerie. No one was explaining it, and you couldn't figure it out, and you were just watching it. At some point, it almost gets normalized or something. You almost start thinking, that's so, But believe me, the more they escalated and got bigger and bigger people, and you could almost have the smell come through the screen of some of the things that were going on, the more you said, I can't forget the fact, it's just not that cool to watch, It's not enticing, it's not, but in this movie, that's all anybody wanted to watch. And the man looked at me and he's like, buddy, if Johnny Depp doesn't start making better movies, I'm not watching another. I'm not going to, whatever. It doesn't matter, but Johnny, this was a big disappointment. I looked at the man and I disagreed. I said, listen, they didn't give Johnny that much to work with, and he was busting his hump out there. He took me places, he had the suspended belief, whatever you would say. So no, Johnny, he was working with what he had, and the man shook his head, and I was like, well, I don't know, maybe you're right, whatever.